Hello, I hope you're having a good day. I'm having a great day. I finished my book. I started making it with Father's Day in mind, so if you can keep that in mind as you look through it, it's got a nice masculine feel to it. I made this cover for it. It was inspired by Patricia. Patricia was talking with me about printing on fabric, and so I created this collage of vintage fishing ads. And I printed on the fabric, and it turned out great. It makes a nice cover for this book. So I should tell you about this book. I'm just thrilled with it. I'm very happy with how it turned out. If you like this book, I'm actually going to be doing a tutorial on it. I'm going to go through page by page of how to make it. So if you like it, make sure you subscribe to my page. And there's a little bell by that, and it's for getting notifications. So go ahead and click that, and then you can get notifications. On my book, also inspired by Patricia, I printed out my cover on fabric because it gives you just a nice grounding feeling to it. It's a different feeling than having just paper. Now, if you have only paper on it, that's okay. It's still fabulous, but if you want to try fabric, it has such a wonderful feel to it. This is kind of a different closure that I made on it. I used twine to wrap around it, but then I used for my closure just a few twigs that I got from some branches outside. I really like how that turned out. The book is about 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which makes it just a really nice size for working with it. It's not uncomfortable. Some over here is just distracting me. I don't know what it is. Oh, it's this. It's a nice size to work with. So if you haven't made very many books, you'll find that this is a nice size for your hands to deal with. What I did with this that was also kind of different, I bound it with fishing wire, fishing twine, fishing, whatever that fishing stuff is. That's what I bound it with. So let's go take a look. On the first page here, I have a pocket. So this pocket is made from some paper that I got at Home Depot, or if you have something like that around your place. It's actually a paper that they use in painting, but it's a wonderful paper that has nice sound and movement to it. Inside that, I have a little wallet-looking thing, and you'll find a license, a fishing license. When I created this book, I had the idea that it can be used for a person to use their own personal journaling thoughts. But the more I worked through it, the more I thought, this book is for someone to give to another person and to write their thoughts of them in it, or a family to give it to a person to write collectively their thoughts about the other person. Like maybe, yeah, I remember when we went down and got your fishing license, or I remember how excited you were. Just whatever. Some thoughts that tell that person that you were thinking about them, you noticed them, and that you loved them. So all through this book, that's really what I have in mind. It can be used for anything, though. It doesn't have to be that. Of course, I have a tape measure here. It's important that you have a measuring thing when you're going fishing. I picked this up just at Walmart. You can get it for $1, but it adds such a nice feel and movement to the book. So something like that's fun. I have various vintage fishing lure patterns within the book. Fishermen, just the thought of fishing and the idea of everything involved. It's like the pre-fishing journey that they're on. So you'll see things like that. I wrote engaged. Throughout the book, I did things to kind of just stir the imagination and the emotion. So here's a couple of fish that were caught. You see another fishing lure pattern. A simple page right there that can be written on in a vintage, I think that's from Bait. Inside this pocket you find a few things. One of them is a time card. We spend a lot of time working and maybe thinking about fishing, looking forward to that time off when we can go fishing. Here's a wonderful spot to write in. It's a vintage ad for a lure, and it opens up kind of like a matchbox in a sense, where it has 3 different spots that open up. Another spot to write on with your fishing patent. This is a vintage license, little fishing button. So I have various photographs in here just really meant to stir the emotion and get the idea of fishing. Fishing is so much more than about just catching fish. There's the fun element. Like you see this little kid here, and he's out there, standing in the water just looking for fish with his net. So there's that element of just the excitement and the fun. This flips up, a nice little thing, and I made this out of vellum. I wanted it to feel like that the fish were nearby, but like water, you couldn't exactly see them clearly. They were down below, and just like this kid, he's looking and watching. And so I wanted you to see the fish without actually seeing them clearly. When you turn the page, though, you can see them clearly, and there's just a wonderful space to write on, to write wonderful memories like, I remember fishing with you, and, you know, we caught that one fish, or I remember going out and you were showing me how to use the net, and I fell in the water. I don't know, just whatever memories that you have. Memories are powerful, and when you can share that with someone, it's powerful. It's one of the best gifts you can give. On this page, I wrote outdoors. One of the things about fishing is being in the outdoors instead of being inside. Maybe if you have a desk job or something. Inside the pocket, I have some fish, which I thought just added such a nice element. You can keep them like that, or you can actually write little things on the back. I have a few vintage fishing rod ads, and then I have a piece of soft tissue paper, bringing the color from the next page over. This says, If I Were a Fish. It's actually a vintage piece of music. So this is kind of fun. I have a fish flip. This opens up like that. Kind of keeps the page open. You know how fish jump out of the water? So even that's something that you can write on the next page. Some memory having to do with that. I've got a little fish right there. Turning the page again. You'll see a lot of, what's that stuff called? You'll see a lot of this stuff throughout the book. Lots of times our junk journals have lace, but with a masculine book, obviously it's not going to be filled with lace. But this just works out perfectly, just creating and moving it throughout. It creates a continuity and a flow within your book. So I've got water here once again, and this is a picture of a group of people fishing off of the pier. So they all have their rods in, and one thing about fishing is you might not have anything in common with someone, but when you're a fisher person, you have fish in common, and automatically friendships form. So that's one of the fun things about fishing is friendships. Out of this side here is a pocket, and it's family. A family that fishes together stays together. So there's a family fishing and enjoying it and showing their catch. In the middle of the book, I wanted something exciting, and here is just like this, I don't know what it is, but it's a huge fish. But it reminded me of another thing about fishing is just the thrill of fishing. And that's another thing that can be written about, just talking about the excitement and the thrilling thing and seeing and dreaming. So you can see that the fishing wire right there from binding the book. And I have thrilling there. When you turn the page, you see the other side of the pier. And in this pocket, you see a man that's fishing along the ocean's edge, and he has a little fish that he's caught right there, and it says success. So one of the exciting things about fishing is just the success of fishing when you actually do catch that. But sometimes you're by someone that's catching, but you haven't caught yet, and that's what these people are here. They're still fishing, people around, and they've got determination and just developing that skill. I am determined. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to catch a fish. So this is kind of a fun little thing I have right here. This is actually a piece of fishing equipment. I don't remember what it's called, maybe a spinner or a swivel. Anyway, I put that in there, put the fish on, and it creates a nice piece of movement, a nice addition to the book. We turn the page, we see another one of these grand fishes that someone caught. This one says victory. You know, when you work hard and you catch that fish, there's just this sense of victory, like, yeah, I did it. This flips up, beautiful place to write, both on the back of the picture as well as right on the page. And you see another piece of the vellum covering up the fish area, which you can hardly see, but there's a fish down there. And isn't that true? Sometimes the fish are just like lurking along the bottom, not really coming out to join you. And that's why I put patience here. You know, fishermen have to have patience. They have to just be there and wait for that fish to bite. On the next page here, I've got a couple of men fishing in the little river edge, little creek. I think it's a creek. Maybe it's a river. Whatever. They're doing that kind of fishing. I think it's fly fishing. And it reminded me this picture of a couple of maybe businessmen, because it looks like maybe they have their button-up shirts on. And I just thought about how business people, with words and, you know, just the academic sense of business. And so on the next page here, I have words peeking through along with the fish, just to show that contrast between work and play. So this, for the word down there, I put freedom, because fishing brings along with it a sense of freedom. You're getting away from all of the hustle and bustle of your normal life, and you're outside just with the freedom of the river. This opens up. There, right here is a vintage fishing, what is it, a fishing reel box, and that opens up as well. And I did something different here. I like bringing just the real fishing products in, so right there is a little actual fishing lure, just kind of dangling about there. And what I did, I put I put hot glue along the tip of it, so there isn't anything prickly about it anymore. It's a safe hook, but it adds such a nice element to the book, and just the bringing the reality of the art of fishing into it. So this is a feeling of kind of white water is what I was going for, throwing it in to the river. And there's the fish, and it says biting on there. And at this top pocket, there's a man, and he's also fishing in the river, and he's got his catch. They were biting. On the next page, you see an older gentleman, clearly a skilled man. He's got two fish in his hand, and you think of just the aged men and how skilled they are and what joy they take in fishing. So I have skill there, and you open it up, and it's like you can see a fish that he caught. And over here, this is the other side of that green painting paper that I used, and it's got several things tucked inside. It's got a wonderful ad for a hook. They were 14 cents each. Thank you very much. Here's a picture of a gentleman, and it just reminded me of dinner. One of the enjoyable things about fishing is that afterwards, especially if you're camping, you have a wonderful meal of fish. It's just, it just creates a whole community. And here's a gentleman there, and just the sense of pride with your catch. Whether it's these big fish like that or smaller fish, there's just pride in fishing and what you actually get. On the last page, as you turn, I've got a fish hanging up there, and on the other side, I've got a gentleman laying down, because fishing can be exhausting. He's actually at a fish market, but when he's sleeping there, just remind me of dreaming, that you can also be just dreaming of fishing and of that fun time and of catching that big catch. But in this pocket here, I have other things that I think are fun too, that remind me of fishing, and that is stories. So I have these little fins sticking out there, and I have a gentleman, and if you see his hands are spread wide out, it's like, it was this big, the one that got away. And actually that's what I have on the back of it. It was this big. So you can write a story about that one. It's like, remember that fish that I caught, or that you caught. And here's, I love this saying, and I tucked it in there. It says, nothing makes a fish bigger than almost being caught. Isn't that great? And so then I've got the heads of fish sticking out, and there's the little tail right there. And so there is the book. It's just a fun book. It's a book full of fishing memories. And it's also an easy book to make. So I hope you join me with making it. And make sure you subscribe, and make sure you hit that button, and be on the lookout for the next video where I'll be showing you the supplies that you're going to need. So have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye.